Hello AFD squad and welcome back to the UCL review. Europe's creme de la creme competition is back, baby. So we are back in these chairs. Baby got back, said that 4 times in the opening 30 seconds there. And Total Football is back as well. If you tuned in yesterday, 1, thank you very much. 2, I'm sorry, okay, because the sound was whack. It was all out of kilter. But if you stuck with it, thank you very much. The show is back on tonight on your screens, on your Football Daily's social pages at 7:45, covering the best games on the continent. And talking of best games, we've got 3 in this episode for you. I'm joined by one of our best. It's Joseph Tomlinson. Gonna say anything? No. Let's start with Napoli versus Liverpool at the San Paolo Stadium.
Right, I am going to speak up now because Liverpool lost last night away to Napoli 2-0, 2 late goals from Dries Mertens and Fernando Llorente, inflicting a fairly shocking defeat on the current Champions League holders. The partner pay, they admittedly do have a good record against English sides. They've won 5 of their last 6 games against English teams on Italian soil. I think their only loss was against Manchester City, and that came back in 2017. And of course, that record includes a good victory last season as well.
Yes,
against
the
Liverpool,
corresponding
back in
fixture.
2018, where they won 1-0. Dries Mertens getting the winner in that one in like the 90th minute. But I think we can all agree, Liverpool were definitely the favourites going into this tie. They've been fantastic domestically, taking 15 points from a possible 15. They're the current holders of the Champions League. They haven't lost an opening game of the Champions League since 2002.
Napoli have been shipping goals as well.
And Napoli's defence has looked shaky, hasn't it? And Liverpool started well. 5 shots in the opening 22 minutes. That's more than they took in the entirety of last season's fixture. Crazy, where of course they didn't have a single shot on target. But again, they struggled to break down that Napoli backline, didn't they? You're going to touch a little bit more on the game, and their poor record away in the Champions League continues. They've lost 6 of their last 8. Last season, they were extremely reliant on Anfield and the atmosphere that generates, pulling them through ties like the Barcelona match. But they can't rely on that forever. Eventually, they will lose a home leg, and they've got to start picking up points, even if it's draws away from home. Let's talk about the first goal, because it came from an Andy Robertson foul on Callahan.
Hold your head in shame, Callahan.
I think it was a dive. I think we can all agree it was a dive. VAR opted not to overturn it, and Jurgen Klopp was not happy about that.
I think when you see the pictures, then it's clear, but the rule is like, if it's not a clear mistake, and now still human beings decide what is a clear mistake. So it stays to that. What can I say about it? It was very decisive in that moment for sure. I think it will help in the long term, but as long as human beings make the decision, there will be still potential for failure. That's how it is. We are all like this. So.
The big German very angry there, and the damage was eventually inflicted by a very small man. I think he's the same size as Olivia Dodd, RIP. She just left us, she's not died. Anyway, let's move on. Dries Mertens did score the penalty. That was his 11th goal in the Champions League, the most of any Belgian.
It's crazy.
Pretty surprising.
I know, more than Hazard.
More than Big Rob, although he did only have 1 campaign in the Champions League, didn't he, with Man United. Ha, banter. And Kevin De Bruyne. Did he not play in the Champions League whilst at Wolfsburg? No? Maybe not. Llorente then compounding the Reds' misery. 2 L's in his name. He scored the 2nd goal in this game, dishing out those L's after a rare Van Dijk mistake.
Yeah.
It was sort of a bit of a miscontrol ball, wasn't it? And then it kind of fell perfectly between Robertson and Matip. Adrian tried to sweep up, but Llorente was the quickest to react. Bit of revenge there from last year. Maybe some small silver lining for Fernando. He was absolutely giddy. Man of the match was Kalidou Koulibaly though, and ran out of superlatives for this guy. He's an absolute beast. The Serie A defender of the year. 70 touches, 5 clearances, 5 recoveries, 3 tackles, 2 blocks and 2 interceptions. It was last-ditch stuff, wasn't it? Slightly helped by a misfiring forward line. They were uncharacteristically wasteful, weren't they? Mane with that ball across to Salah springs to mind after that pretty decent counter-attack. Adrian did have a great game as well, including 1 insane save to deny a Dries Mertens header. That would have been a collector's item, wouldn't it? Although Napoli's Mere Alex Meret, who was injured for large parts of last season,
isn't
was very promising, the 22-year-old. Denied Salah low, pretty impressively, didn't they? Fabinho, shout out to him, don't have any stats, but from what I can recall on last night's stream, played pretty well, although was just focusing on getting through that stream.
Yeah, I think he was probably their best player, Liverpool,
Yeah.
I think, on the night, given how poor that forward line was.
Yeah, I have got some numbers in that forward line. The most surprising is that Mane was dispossessed 5 times, which in fact was a game high, but did look pretty bloody useful at various points, so we will forgive him. Let's roll straight into the next English side to see how they fared, because it wasn't much better, was it?
It was worse. The English team we're talking about, of course, Chelsea, who lost 1-0 at home to Valencia. Not a good result at all to start your Champions League campaign. Of course, a 74th minute goal from Rodrigo, enough to get the win there. Although Ross Barkley missing a penalty in horrific fashion. Nothing worse than blazing it over the bar. That's the worst type of penalty. Chelsea fans up in arms, given that Lampard after the game said Barkley was our designated penalty taker, which seems odd given that he hadn't taken one previous to this in 3.5 years, and Willian and Jorginho were both on the pitch at the same time. Don't really understand that decision. Either way, he missed it and they lost 1-0. We also saw Mason Mount taken off with a really nasty ankle injury after a horrific kind of pass/challenge from Francis Coquelin.
I don't think he's even tried to get the ball, which is just a bit of insight into the player that Coquelin is.
You know, I think he knows what he's doing, and it should have definitely been a red card. It wasn't a red card, came just 16 minutes into the game, and he's lucky he hasn't broken his ankle, Mason Mount. The freeze frame of the tackle is horrific. But beyond that, the statistics show that Chelsea were kind of dominant. Maybe a little bit unlucky to lose the game. They had 22 shots. Valencia had just 8. They had 6 shots on target. Valencia had just 2. They had 60% possession. They had a better XG. All of the stats in their favour. They just struggled to convert on the night. And this was only Chelsea's second defeat in their last 42 Champions League group games, which is an incredible record.
At home, right? Yeah.
Yeah, at home. And, you know, Frank Lampard, he's kind of picked up a bit of momentum in recent weeks, and I don't think this has reset the momentum, but it's a bit of a bitter pill to swallow. He becomes, in the process, the first manager to lose his opening Champions League game in charge with Chelsea. But you've got to say, at least he's stuck by his principles, handing 3 Champions League debuts to Englishmen, of course, Abraham, Mount and Tomori under the age of 21, which I like to see. And that's obviously something he's going to do at Chelsea. He's got a transfer ban. He trusts Abraham in that number 9 role, given that he started the season in brilliant fashion. Mount unlucky to pick up an injury, and Tomori scored a worldie at the weekend in the back 3, which again Lampard chose to bring out. It was brilliant against Wolves. Not quite as effective last night, but I wonder if he's going to stick with that back 3 now, because it's at least more solid. They look suspect defensively in the opening few games when they were going with a back 4. Once Rudiger's back in the middle of that 3, and it's Rudiger, Tomori and Christensen again at the sort of replacement of Zuma, I think he'll probably stick with it. It also allows Marcos Alonso to play a lot higher up the pitch, doesn't he, because he's such a suspect defender. And I don't think this was horrific, this performance by Chelsea, but the result is a shocking start in the Champions League, given that Valencia have just sacked Marcelino. Yeah,
just touching very briefly on what you were saying about Chelsea there in defence. They even looked okay in a 4. I think they were conceding the 3rd or 4th fewest amounts of shots in the Premier League, behind the likes of Liverpool, Leicester, maybe Manchester United as well, City in there. So they haven't been horrific at the back, but what they have been is pretty bad in the transition from attacking to defending. So having that extra body in there might provide a little bit more solidity. Maybe that's part of Lampard's thinking. But yes, fair play to Valencia, because they've had a tumultuous week, haven't they? Infuriated their fans by sacking Marcelino, who led them to back-to-back 4th place finishes. That was obviously a political decision. He didn't see eye to eye with Peter Lim, and his successor, Albert Salides, not exactly setting the world on fire with his start. I mean, you're already bored of Alberto Salides, apparently. Previously of Spain and Real Madrid assistant manager fame, he started his tenure with a 5-2 defeat to Barcelona.
Tough though.
However, has just secured Valencia's 2nd Champions League win in England in 10 attempts. And I think their last one was against Liverpool in 2002, tying in with that stat that you mentioned previously. But despite that dream start, it will be a huge ask for Losce to qualify from the group stages. The last time they did was in 2012-13. Of course, they've got Ajax and Lille in their group. It is a really tough group. Those two teams played last night with Ajax running out 3-0 victors. And they'll need players like Rodrigo, who was the difference maker here. Just his third goal in 25 UCL appearances and his first in 10 for Valencia. He had 3 shots on the night, scored with his only 1 on target. So extremely decisive, if not a little bit fortunate on XG. Both of Valencia's central midfielders, key components in this game as well. Kondogbia with an 89% pass accuracy, 8 tackles and interceptions with 1 dribble to boot. Man of the match, as it always is for Valencia, was Danny Parejo. His form has not dropped in like the last 4 or 5 seasons. 2 tackles and interceptions, 1 dribble, 5 key passes and 1 assist. They're back in action, Valencia, this weekend when they face bottom place Leganes, and Chelsea prepare for table toppers Liverpool in a mouth-watering Sunday fixture, which we are covering on the Football Social. Please come and join us for that. And make sure you stay with us for the last section, because we're talking about Håland, who we covered in the Extra Time podcast. The boy's an absolute beast. He was made in a lab.
Yes, and the team the big Viking plays for are, of course, RB Salzburg, who are making their first appearance in the competition last night since 1994-95 season. And back then, they're, of course, called SV Austria Salzburg. Didn't have the Red Bull Association, did they? Of course, they are a prolific team in the Europa League.
Yeah.
They tore Leipzig apart. They tore you boys apart last year.
Oh, yeah.
But they're notorious bottlers at getting into the Champions League. They have failed to qualify in 7 consecutive campaigns now. Wow. But they snuck in this time thanks to the fact that Tottenham and Liverpool played each other in the final, meaning they didn't have to go through the qualification process.
Automatic.
And my God, do they look like a ridiculous, ridiculous side. Obviously, hammering Genk 6-2 last night, and rightly so. It's the 6th time already this season they've scored 5+ goals.
Wow.
In the league, I think they've played 7 games and scored 34. Which is it's stupid. It's stupid.
I mean, the Austrian Bundesliga is about as good as the SPFL.
Yeah, but it's even more impressive given some of the outgoings that happened last summer. Munas de Boer moved on, Schläger moved off, Leiner moved on, Wolf moved on, Samaseko, of course, also departed, as did the manager, Marco Rose, who went to Mönchengladbach, didn't he? And in came Jesse Marsch, of course, the first American ever to manage in the Champions League. He was the assistant under Marco Rose last season, stepped up to fill the plate. He's in the past been the manager of New York Red Bulls as well, so keeping it very much in the Red Bull family. And they've got a clear philosophy. They're going to play young players. They're going to sell them on in the future. They're going to try and shift them to Leipzig if they can. And the average age of last night's team was 23. That is so young. It would make them the youngest side in the Prem. One of those youngsters, we mentioned at the start, has been made in a laboratory. He's 6'4". He runs 100 meters in just over 10 seconds. He looks like he could well rip you in half with his bare hands. Of course, it's Håland. 19 years old, and he scored a first half hat-trick.
If he's born 400 years ago, he's probably King of England at some point.
He is King of England.
Just pillaging
could well go on to become King of English Premier League too.
In his longboat. Absolute Nordic god. Anyway, he finished the game with a hat-trick, as you do when you're 19 on your Champions League debut. The only players to net the match ball at a younger age in this competition are Wayne Rooney and Raul. So not bad company to keep. Now for his first, very well positioned in between the centre halves. For a big guy, pretty sneaky. Went full Tom Clancy Splinter Cell there. However, for the other 2 strikes, really helped by some disastrous defending by Genk. Felice Mazu's men could not handle the red-hot attack of the Red Bulls, of RB Leipzig. They generated 26 shots, 18 of those came from inside the box.
Sickening.
The majority of them were from really promising central high-quality areas as well. This was an absolute mauling. XG had it down at 4.4 to 0.6.
Which is insanity, by the way. 4.4 expected goals. I think when Tottenham shipped 400 shots against Man City, it was only like 2.5
Yeah,
XG.
normally the discrepancy is more modest than you anticipate. In this case, no, the golfing class was there for everyone to see. By comparison, the current Jupiler Pro League champions could only muster 10 shots, 5 of those coming from inside the box, and they were pretty speculative anyway.
Yeah.
Pretty fortunate, I think. The first goal was a little bit of a rebound, quite fortuitous. The attack, RB Salzburg's attack, just running right, like I said. Hwang Lee-chan got his 5th goal in 4 starts before Szobo Szlai, I'm going to say, and captain Andreas Ulmar completed the rout. Shout out to defensive midfielder Zlatko Junazovic as well, one of the senior pros in the side at 31 years of age. He put up 4 tackles and registered 2 assists from 5 key passes, really pulling the strings from deep. Now Liverpool on the 2nd of October should be really wary of this attack. 32 goals and 23 assists between Haaland, Hwang, Minamino and Daka. Meanwhile, Genk haven't won a game in 13 attempts in the Champions League, so will be the perennial whipping boys of this group, and they will ship 1,000 goals.
53 goal involvements already between 4 players in that attack. 53!
55.
55!
Maths. But that's it for today. That is our UCL preview done. We've got another one, not preview, UCL review done. We've got another one tomorrow.
Yeah.
I think that's going to feature Doogie and
Pato.
Maybe, or just 2 other people. Let us know what you thought of, Group E and just the opening match day 1 of the Champions League in the comments below, guys. Anything to plug?
Total Football tonight. Make sure you are tuned in for tonight's big games. Not sure who's on the sofa, but it's definitely Doogie Critchley, along with some other people.
I think Pato again, what a duo. What a partnership they're striking up. Bye.